So Linda, let's just dive right into the questions.
Okay.
So what inspired you to become a copywriter?
I've been a writer for 100 years, and it was really not a specific point in time, but kind of a gradual transition from content writing to copywriting. I had done content writing for about 20 years,
Hmm.
and I was burned out from it. The publishing world was folding up. Print publications were dying, and writing for digital publications wasn't making the same. I couldn't make the same money. And so I decided there was an interim there where I had an online fitness business, which was cool because it taught me all about launching and all that kind of thing. But I just wanted to get back to writing and didn't want to do content anymore. So I thought, why not get into the marketing end of it? Because I just didn't want to do content. So
Right.
it was kind of a gradual transition.
Now, you've mentioned with me before about your experiences. So you have your experiences with MSN. What other experiences have you had?
As far as
Copywriting
what copyright, I did a
or
lot for
content writing too, right? Because you've had those experiences.
content writing. I did a ton of, like, pretty much every big publication you can name, from Family Circle, Good Housekeeping. I've been in Time Magazine, Huffington Post, all of them. And the copywriting I did for Bowflex initially. They had me writing their quarterly. They have like these sales publications. You probably get them like for different things. They're
Mm,
a quarterly, big
right.
glossy magazine. So I wrote a couple of those, and I liked it, but I wasn't doing it the way I do now. Like, it's a whole different thing.
For
Content
sure.
writing and copywriting is a whole different thing. Well, they didn't differentiate it for me. They just said, we want you to write these magazines for us. And I'm like, okay. And they said, you can do, copywriting.
Yeah.
I, I don't know. It was, for me, it was just, okay. It was just a different type of writing.
Interesting. Now, I want you to tell me the difference. What's the difference between copywriting,
And content.
content? Yeah. What's the difference between copywriting versus content?
I mean, the main difference is content is more for entertainment and to inform. So blog posts, articles, that kind of thing. Copywriting, some people say it's for selling, but it's more just to have people take action. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a sale. It could be a lead. It could
Mhm.
be, clicking on a button, but you want the reader to do something. That's the biggest difference. And it's more on the marketing end than the writing end.
So
It's a
it's more
whole different
intentional.
approach. Right, exactly. There's a reason for it.
Nice.
It's
Is
harder,
there,
in my opinion.
yeah. Now tell me a little bit about conversion copywriting. Because I'm seeing all these things, different titles, different everything, but I didn't even know conversion copywriting was even a thing until
A lot of
recently.
people don't. It's a term that was coined by Joanna Weeb, who is known as like the OG conversion copywriter. Back in like 2011, she coined the term. She's been my coach. Anyone who's in marketing probably has heard of her. She was working for Intuit, and she considered herself a conversion focused copywriter. And she said she got so tired of saying it, she just said, I'm calling myself a conversion copywriter. And so
Mm,
she's just kind of built this whole new genre from it. And so it's still relatively new,
mhm,
and some people think it's a bogus term, but it's not, because there's a very specific way that I approach copywriting other copywriters don't.
mhm. And what made you attracted to conversion copywriting instead of any other form of writing?
Well, it was interesting because I had my online fitness business for a few years, and the coach I was working under at that time, this business coach, he was using a copywriter that he called conversion copywriter, who turned out to be
Hmm.
another student of Joanna Weave's.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of it, and so I wanted her to write my sales page, and so for my fitness business, and I contacted her, and she quoted me this huge number. I think it was, and this was years ago, $2,500 for a sales page, which now she wouldn't even look at you for that amount. I mean, it's at least double. And I thought, how is she getting so much money for a sales page? So it just got me curious about what it was. And so I couldn't afford her at the time, so I never worked with her. And
Mm,
ironically, I attended one of her webinars this past April. But it was just something I was intrigued by because it was something different, and I'm
right.
always up for a challenge. So, and then just over the years, I got to know it and thought, this is what I want to do.
That's awesome. What's your process when it comes to tackling website copy?
I mean, it's the 3 phases that I do, and the first phase is the research, which is the biggest part of preparing to write, and I actually really love it because over the years of doing content, I got really good at interviewing people because I wrote articles for, like you had mentioned, MSN Health. I've interviewed like top experts literally all over the world. So I'm very at ease talking to
Mhm.
anybody. And so I found that I had a real ability to kind of dig, and people just open up to me and start telling me stuff. I've more than once somebody has said, after the interview, are you going to print all that? Because I didn't mean to say that. And if they were really upset, I would take it out. But I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
my point is that they would kind of let down their guard. And
Right.
so the research part involves like interviews. And it's not that I'm sneaky about it. It's just that I let people talk. And a lot of times that's all it takes, so it's the interviews. I actually have a 49-point checklist that I use. And most people don't have all of it, but it's
Right.
everything from social media to blog posts to the competition. I kind of go undercover, and I will buy the competition product. I will look at their website. I look at the
Wow.
comments on their blogs. What is it people are saying? I'll look at the Better Business Bureau. Everything I have, like I said, a whole list, and then
Mhm.
I just dig into that. The second part is the actual writing, and it's more like assembly. They say that in copywriting isn't writing, it's assembly, because I have blocks of all these different pieces of research and I start plugging them in. And then I start, putting it together, making it sound good, however the client's tone is and whatever quotes I get. And then
Right.
I do the editing. And then the third phase is the testing and validation. So then we put it out there. There's a couple of different tests that I like to use and see how people respond. And then we tweak it, edit it, the copy according to the responses. But the whole idea is to get a measurable result.
Mhm.
So you know that it's working.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts that come to my mind is, let's just talk about the homepage. What's been a noticeable thing that you've seen when, you audit their website, or based on the research that you found from their competitors or from others? What has been the biggest, like, aha moment for them?
Well, the homepage, just as a kind of a side note, the homepage is the hardest page to write
Mhm.
because every other page, you have a good idea where people are coming from. Maybe it's a Facebook ad, maybe it's
That's
you know
true.
particular advertising you're doing. The homepage, you have to capture everyone, so it has to be more general. And there's sort of a saying in conversion copywriting where whatever time you allow to write a homepage, a lot, 3/4 of that for tearing your hair out, because you have to you have to really try to fit it to everybody's level of awareness, where they're
Right.
coming from. But the biggest issues I see are that people don't know their own value, like their value proposition. Like, what is it that separates you from everybody else in your business, especially if it's a mass market sort of service or product?
Interesting.
That you have to have that differentiating thing. Like for me, it's the 49-point checklist.
Mhm.
And it's also, people have to know you, obviously, and that's going to be the big thing, but it's not being specific enough in what you offer, how it's going to benefit the person, what they're going to get out of it. It's
Mhm.
usually the biggest issue I see is that a lot of websites just talk about themselves. And you really, the focus should be on the reader 100%. And then
Right.
you can, even on the about page, and that's what people are surprised to hear about, because it's still, the focus is on, your potential customer or your reader.
That's a hard one because about the company feels like it should be about the company. But then if I'm the reader, I don't really want to hear about you so much. I want to hear about what you're going to do for me, right?
Right. So, I mean, you
I'm
talk
glad
about
you
your
got an award, but what are you going to do for me?
right. Exactly. But there's a way to weave it in. Like for me, I'm trying to think what I put on my about page. My about page is, and this is what I usually do with people, is that you take what you do
Mhm.
and talk about how it's going to benefit them. So, okay, so just an example, I've been in business for X number of years, and because of that, I can do this for you. So that's how you can bring in your experience and what your benefits are and features, and how it's going to benefit that person.
It's like answering the so what?
Yeah.
Like, I can do this as the this. I don't care. Or I can do
Right.
this as the this. So what? Like, what's your why? Like, why does that matter to me?
Right.
So
And people are, they're, for one, they're lazy about reading. If they're not captured, I think there was a research I posted about this on LinkedIn.
I
You
saw
have
the
like
post. Yeah.
0.03 seconds to capture someone's
Hmm.
attention, or they
Oh
just
yeah.
bounce.
Right.
Yeah, not a
To
lot of
me,
time.
when I'm scrolling through a website, um, I just go through the headlines.
Hmm.
I don't really like. I'm usually like on the go,
Yeah.
so I just look through the headlines, and if the title of a blog post catches my attention, that's exactly what I need to hear. I already know the way people write blogs. They
Hmm.
won't give you it until the conclusion, so I just scroll through the whole thing.
That's what a lot of people do. 80% of people just read the headlines.
Yeah, it
That's
makes
a lot.
that is a lot. I mean, I guess it's worth it for SEO purposes, but it's not really worth it for the reader.
Hmm. Well, they
So,
have to know that it's going to be of value to them, because a lot of it is like clickbait.
you're right.
How many times, like, I go on Yahoo and it's like, look how far these celebrities have fallen. And it's like, I'm dying to know how bad they look. Like, but then you get on it and then you're like 15 slides in and you're still just on the first person and it's not anyone you ever heard of, so it's clickbait. People, and then there's a million pop-up ads in the meantime, and we're just tired of it, just
All
because
right.
we're all the same, we all do it.
100%. It makes me wonder if short copy is better than long form copy if we're catering to the reader.
The key is with long copy, because research shows actually long copy converts better than short copy if it's a sales page we're talking about.
Hmm.
But you have to structure it so it captures every type of reader. So I wrote about this on LinkedIn, where most people skim. So they'll do what you do. They read the headline and then they'll
Hmm.
look at all the subheadings and what we call crossheads, which are
Right.
short paragraphs that introduce the main body. And so you want to have that copy be captivating. But then there are people, and I have a good friend of mine who does this, because she'll always say, she'll email me, do you know you left out a comma on the set? It's like, it drives me crazy, because she reads every single word. So you have to accommodate those people too. So that copy has to be intriguing. And so
Mm.
you have to just consider everyone that comes to your page. And the other thing
Right.
too is it's always about testing and what is converting, what's not converting.
Yeah, I
And
remember seeing your LinkedIn post about it. And then there's different types of people. Right. For me, I just skim through the thing. Just give me the meat. I just want to
right,
go straight to the meat. But some people are like, well, I want the appetizer. I want to read. I'll take a water before I get my beverage. Like, people just want to know the details and sometimes look into it too much. Right.
yeah. And
And
also, where are they in their journey? Like, if, say, you have a
that's a good one.
product and they're ready to buy,
Hmm.
they don't have to read a long page. They know they want you to do their website and they just want to know how to get started. So they're going to
Right.
jump and they're just going to go right to that start now button or wherever it is. And other people who are not quite at that decision making point, they want to know more, so they're going to
Hmm.
read more. So it really depends on where they are, and that's the whole level of marketing awareness before they
Right.
get to your page.
Now, another question that I had was, what part of the process do you really enjoy when it comes to copywriting?
I really enjoy all of it. The research, probably the most,
Yeah.
because I get quotes and I always know when somebody says something to me that I'm like, that is a headline. That's like
Mm.
amazing. And so, like, for example, I had a client that I had been working with. They have a business they've had for 2 years, and I came up with 3 value propositions just based on all the research I did. It took me forever. And the CEO liked it so much that at their annual meeting, he had them recite it, and actually he had them all. I don't know which one of the 3 it was, but he had them memorize the one that he liked the most. And that was like
Wow.
the biggest compliment to me. He said, because you nailed it. And it's just a matter of, really finding out what is most important to people. The writing part I love, but it's hard. That's the hardest, most intense part, because
Mm.
you really need, I mean, for me, maybe other writers it's different, but
Yeah, yeah. I love that you have the humor personality in your writing, and then also you simplify it. You just simplify the crap out of it. There's a
It
lot of
has
people
to
that
be.
do make it super complicated,
Yeah.
or they don't do research, which I would never hire a copywriter that doesn't do any research, just FYI.
Yeah. And I didn't know how much was involved until I got into it. I always thought copywriting before when I was a content writer, I'm like, well, what's the difference? Like what you said at the beginning. It's like,
Right.
well, how
I di
different can it be? Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know the difference a while ago, I didn't know the difference, and even to today, we're still asking the same question, right? You should write an article about this, by the way. This is good because I'm sure there's people that search for it, right? Like,
Oh, what's the
if
difference?
I'm a CEO at a startup, and I'm sure there's other CEOs or there's other marketing professionals that aren't aware of copywriting to that extent, like we do now, that are on Google search, that
Mhm.
they're like the difference between content copywriter versus conversion.
A lot of people, as I said earlier, they kind of see it as a bogus term. And this is actually from other copywriters. I've heard this. I was on a Facebook group one time with copywriters, and they were all direct response. So direct response, that's what you get in the mail, that these blaring headlines.
Mhm.
And those are the ads that get the most attention. It's like, okay, and it is copywriting, but it's direct response. It's not,
Yeah.
there's no nurturing involved. Like say, for example, I'm writing a sales page.
Mhm.
The idea of a sales page is you're taking somebody from one level of awareness and bringing them through all the different levels. So they're on maybe pain aware, so they know they have a pain, they don't know what to do about it. And then as the copy progresses, each step brings them closer to
Mhm.
you as a solution. And direct mail or direct response rather, it's just like, here's the product, you need this, you'd be an idiot if you don't buy it.
Right.
so so there's like it's different, it's more in your face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
No. I think you should literally on LinkedIn write a post about the difference between the 2.
okay,
I think you'd get a lot of engagement on that one.
probably a lot of arguing.
A lot of
It's
arguing, a lot of education at the same time too.
it's LinkedIn, so it'll be nice argue. It'll be like, well, I don't know, this is how I feel, what do you think? It's not going to be the
Agree or
tough.
disagree. Everyone's gonna start doing that. Those are the ones that get the most engagement is when you ask for feedback
Yeah,
in the comments.
polls, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, another question that I have is who is your ideal client? The more specific, the better.
My ideal client is a small business, usually a few million in revenue. I have worked with people that are solopreneurs all the way up to $300 million companies, but that's a whole different thing. I prefer the smaller businesses, B2B.
Mhm.
Um, right now, I'm still my most comfortable niche is the health and fitness area because that's what
Yeah,
my
yeah.
20 years of background has been in. But I'm sort of burned out from all of that. I mean, I can write, I understand the audience, I know the lingo, and it's
Mhm.
easy for me, easier for me. I still have to do all the research. But I have worked with clients in every different field. So I'd say probably just small B2B. The niche I haven't yet defined yet. Email sequences are one of the things I find I'm good at, and the website pages. So I'm
Nice.
still kind of honing in. I tend to wait for things to happen organically. When a lot of people say, "Hey, I really like this,"
Hmm.
like the audits I like to do. Those
Yeah,
seem
yeah.
to be
Now the point of contact, is that the CEO? Is that the like a
usually
marketing
it's a
professional?
marketing manager, somebody in the marketing department. It depends on the size of the company.
Okay.
You know, I've worked with CEOs, I've worked with marketing VPs.
Mhm. Now, you mentioned Joanna Weeb. You mentioned she's your coach. You're taking a course, I believe. What has been your biggest takeaways, or what have you learned the most for her classes?
There's so much. I mean, it's copy school is what she has, and it's a. I mean, I have stacks and stacks of folders and notes from her. It took about a year to go through that whole course, but there's so much there. It's kind of hard to put like to sum it all up. I think if anything, it's just that it's not to do it right is not
Mhm.
easy. It's really copywriting. People consider it a soft skill, like, oh, I can write, so I can do copywriting. It's like saying, well, I can swim, so I can be in the Olympics. I mean, well, maybe, but
yeah, I will drown. I'm not even going to try to front. I would just drown.
Try the platform diving along with those Chinese Olympians.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's just that it's hard. I'm thinking of in particular, like she does these copy critiques. And so you submit, if you're brave enough, submit your copy, and she would critique it in the group. And I'll never forget one time somebody posted something and Joanna said, okay, I'm going to assume that your headline is a placeholder because basically she said it's like really bad. She didn't use those words, but I'm going to assume it's a placeholder because it doesn't say what it should say. Mm-hmm. And the person typed in the chat, that's not a placeholder. It took me like a week to come up with that. And Joanna's like, this stuff is hard. To do it right, it's hard. Yeah. But it's also really rewarding when it works and people say, this copy, boosted my conversions. I got better sales. And I'm like, yes, because that's the only reason to do it.
Right. Totally. It's definitely a great investment overall, especially if I mean, who isn't trying to improve their sales? That's the crazy thing, right? Yeah. So I think that's great. Last question that I have, do you have any advice or tips for B2B marketing professionals?
I would say to seriously consider hiring. I mean, it's not just because I'm a conversion copywriter, but because people underestimate the impact that conversion copy could have on your sales. To hire somebody with my background, hopefully me, but I mean, there's others of us out there, and conversion copywriters are trained to take every piece, every part of a page or an email and make sure it converts to the best that it can. And most B2B business owners don't understand the value of that. And they just, I mean, doing websites that, people underestimate the value of a website. It's the same kind of thing. Right. So consider hiring somebody who really is geared toward conversions.
Awesome. Well, Linda, thanks for your time. And
this
was always a great chat. We could definitely do a part 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, we should do a series.
Awesome. Well, you have a great day and we'll keep in touch. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, the links are below where you can listen on your favorite podcasting app.